Hey, everyone. Happy Friday. Today we're back with another episode of Fridays with Flo. And today we're talking about why your home isn't selling and how to fix it. I'm excited to talk about this conversation today because 2026 has been off to an interesting start. And we've seen that kind of coming from what the fall 2025 kind of looked like. And when we saw that most families had their homes listed and things were quite slow, we kind of expected things to look that way in the fall because home buyers traditionally slow down. Buyer demand reduces when we get into the colder temperatures between holidays. People are like, let's just hold off to the new year. And now here we are. It's a new year, and we're not seeing as crazy hot of home buying activity as we've seen in the past 4 or 5 years, honestly. Interest rates have risen up, of course, but they've also gone down a solid percent, almost 2% below. We're seeing a lot of new construction companies offering 3.9%, rate buy downs, all sorts of great incentives for your traditional home buyers. Still, a lot of people aren't necessarily running after home ownership right now. Either they're really solid where they're currently staying, or they're experiencing some of what's going on in the economy. We've seen a lot of job layoffs. The unemployment numbers are higher. The Department of Bureau of Labor Statistics, whatever that department is, has released that there are so many more layoffs. I think this morning it listed 90,000 for the month of February. So when we're seeing some of those shifts in the market, it makes it quite difficult for somebody to have confidence, not only moving forward with purchasing, but even other people who are still employed, they're not so confident about their likelihood to sustain a mortgage, right? So all of those factors play a huge role in why your home isn't selling, right? And so there are ways to fix those things, but that's just one of them. I think the number one reason that a home may not be selling beyond all the external factors of what's happening in the economy, the number one reason is your home is priced too high. Because when a deal is looking like a deal, right? The home is priced really well, somebody's going to go after it. Be it a first-time home buyer, be it, somebody who is upgrading or leveling down or, getting less space, and or an investor. There's always something buying. Even during the 2008 housing market crash, people were still purchasing homes. So while many people were experiencing foreclosures, there were a bunch of people who had cash or who had money at some capacity, and they were buying. Look at what happened in 2020 when interest rates got really low. There was a slew of corporate hedge funds buying up a lot of properties. So when somebody's losing in the economy, there's always somebody else that's winning at some level, right? And so for those who are winning, it doesn't mean that your home is not going to be able to sell. You just have to be more competitive with pricing. So pricing your home too high is the number one reason homes don't sell. All right. Many sellers price their homes based on what they want. And I get it. You've lived in your home. You know how beautiful your home is. You know how much you've invested in your home, not only maintenance, but also, but also some upgrades that you've done. I know I've been in my home that for the last 2 years. Actually, later this month will mark 2 years. And although the market is telling me my home is worth about the same as what I paid for it, I expect that for a condo. Condos appreciate very slowly in the market, and so I don't expect it to drastically go up. However, I feel like my home is worth more than what I paid for it because since I've come in, I've removed popcorn ceiling, I've added brand new floors, I opened up the kitchen wall, making it flow better. I've switched out a lot of light fixtures. I've had fresh paint. I've had all these things that I, as a homeowner, feel that my home value is certainly worth tens of thousands of dollars more than what I paid for it. And that is the same sentiment your typical sellers experience, right? you know how much you've invested in it. But not every investment will yield a high return on investment. So it's very important to be careful all the upgrades and investments you're making into the home because in every economy, you might not make that back, right? Maybe now is not the best time to sell. Maybe you should wait a little bit longer. For those who are able to price their home competitively and still walk away with a really good profit, the spring season is the best time to sell, right? So maybe you were on the market in the fall season, October, November, December, going into the winter, and you had a lot of people going through the house, but no offers. If that was happening, if you had a lot of activity, people were showing the house, people were viewing the house, but no offers, that right there is a huge indicator that there's interest but the home is priced too high. And also, although you might say, well, they could just bring an offer. I've always thought that too as a licensed real estate broker. However, sometimes people feel like it's not even worth the fight. They're going to offer an amount. You're not going to want to bend a little bit, and it's just going to be a waste of time for them. So it makes it easier to go for a house where the price feels right already. It's easier to negotiate. Although there's a lot of low ballers viewing houses anyway. And so in that process as well, if there's a lot of interest, it might mean that your photos are look really great. But when they get to the house, they're like, this is a little outdated, and it's not exactly what they expected. So buyers today are extremely data driven and sensitive to price, because with the home prices going down a little bit, for a lot of home buyers and some seller values in some neighborhoods, you're seeing a lot of people get concerned about, what will their home be worth in the next couple years? Will they be able to make things make sense? And then even for investors, fighting with a seller with a home price to then have to put it up for rent, the mortgage that they're having to pay on that house might not cover, or the rent that they're going to make on the house might not cover the mortgage at today's interest rates. So it's a push and pull. All right. So, other reasons why a home might be sitting on the market would be poor first impression, photos, and presentation. 98% of buyers begin their search online. So, before they even go see the house, they're looking at pictures and they're deciding right there and then if your house is worth going to see or not. And so given that they shop online first and they're seeing pictures, they're gonna see, oh, these photos are dark. Oh, this room looks cluttered. And even though the idea is that you're selling the house and you're gonna have to move out, so all your stuff is gonna be gone, they still cannot seem to picture their lives in there as the buyer because your things are all over the place, And so whenever I have a seller selling their home, I always tell them the number one thing you need to do is to clean and declutter, or declutter then clean. You've got to remove the things that you have that is cluttering the spaces so that people can start to envision themselves in there. Honestly, homes that are staged, that means that has furniture and some level of decor, sell 73% higher, or faster. I mean, so they sell 73% faster. But whenever the home has got too much going on, that can certainly impede on the buyer's ability to see their lives in there. So poor staging can also kill interest, because if they can't seem to, or they don't like the way that the couch is sitting in the living room and something feels off for them, the feng shui is not correct. Those are kind of some things that can impact their ability to buy it. So buyers tend to be quite picky. Nevertheless, curb appeal is something that we can fix, right? So getting professional photography, that's going to be very critical because they can edit out some things. Like if there's a basket, they can edit out those types of things. But if you want to sell your home for top dollar, you're going to have to start with decluttering, cleaning, pressure washing if needed, just getting some things in a neutral position, and then hiring a professional photographer to brighten up your image, your home, and we list it online for buyers to have the desire or feel enticed to go book a showing and take a look at, or even open houses, right? So another reason why your home might not be selling would be limited market exposure. A lot of sellers tend to do for sale by owner. They think that they can sell their home better or faster than a realtor can. And you know what? I don't blame you. What I would say is realtors are all negotiable, right? Commission is negotiable. There might be a realtor that's like, hey, I know my value and what I offer. My commission fee is not negotiable. And that's valid, right? And that's up to you as a seller to either move forward or not. But there are a lot of realtors out there that are willing to negotiate their compensation. But for realtors, there's a lot that goes into it. We don't just put the home online, right? Because you did that and your home has been sitting on the market for much longer, right? But we have access to a very large network between other colleagues that we know across the state or across the country. We know people who might have a buyer looking to relocate or to buy, and we can connect people much quicker than just listing your home online. We also spend time and money on ads and we host open houses. There are a lot of things that go in the process where you get to cruise through the process, but I'm not here to sell you on using a realtor for versus not. I'm here to tell you that one of the reasons why your home might not be selling is limited marketing exposure. All right. So again, in today's market, any realtor that's just putting the home on the MLS and calling it a day, they too are going to lose. Unless the home is priced really well, they too are going to lose. So there's a lot of processes that goes into it, such as looking at marketing data. Sometimes a for sale by owner might say, well, my neighbor's house sold for this, so surely I can get that or more because I saw their pictures and I did this to my house, and so surely it's this. But you're missing some of the other things that are typically accounted for a higher price point, such as square footage, right? Maybe your neighbor's house had more, like 300 to 500, if not 1,000 square feet more than yours. So that's a part of why it's sold for much higher than you could probably get for yours. The other thing is maybe they had an extra bedroom or an extra den or office, an extra half bath. Maybe they have a fenced in yard. Maybe they have a garage and you don't. There's a lot of things that tend to add thousands in value to a home that the appraiser accounts for. And licensed real estate agents know a lot of this background information. And so this helps us in properly pricing the home to sell quickly. The other thing is the National Association of Realtors tells us that I can't even remember this piece here, but for sale by owner, I think it's 58%. 58% of homes listed by for sale by owner sell for a lot less. They sell for a lot less. You're missing out on all the negotiation strategies. Sometimes I get some for sale by owners who say, I'm willing to pay the buyer agent, I just don't want to pay a listing agent. So you're willing to pay somebody else that's representing a buyer, but you're not willing to pay somebody to represent you. But those are some things to kind of keep in mind because you're paying to lose, essentially. You're paying to go against somebody who is strategic with negotiation, strategic with the process, and whereas where you have a listing agent, somebody representing you, we protect you from paying out so much to the buyer agents in every capacity, even buyers asking for seller concessions or paid closing costs. There's some ways that we can shift things and negotiate things. So we can say yes to them, but maybe we do halfway or 50%, or maybe we structure it differently. So lots of things. Now, the other reason why your home might not be selling, condition issues. Needed updates. When a buyer's walking through the house and they see all the work that they're going to have to do, that can kind of put a damper on things because they're now not able to look at their potential beautiful home. Instead, they're looking at their potential home and having work to do in it before they can really feel comfortable. Right. So turnkey homes, otherwise known as move-in ready homes, typically fresh paint, nice floors, no leaks, things that are gonna posed to be an issue. And other things that you might not see. Maybe you think, well, I did all the cosmetic stuff. It's also about the systems and functions, right? The bigger systems like the roof, the age of the roof. Buyers are facing issues today where they're not able to get homeowners insurance, or their homeowners insurance premium is really high because the roof on the house is so old. And so we're facing issues where homeowners insurance companies, as soon as they hear that the roof is older than 10 years, they start to identify that house as a risk for them to insure because they know at some point soon, very soon, the buyer will now have to file a claim for them to replace the roof. So that, as well as some other things like your HVAC unit, a 21-year-old HVAC unit is towards the end of its life. And so buyers are now having to account for about a $7,000 expense especially if they're a first-time home buyer, they might not already have, right? Between having to acquire the house, pay closing costs, to then move in it, spend money on furniture, decor, getting comfortable, just settling in a new home. Now they're going to have to account for another $7,000 of a replacement, if not within the next 6 months, definitely within the next year or so, right? And so there are a lot of pieces to the puzzle that buyers are contemplating as they're viewing your house, beyond cosmetic of things like paint and flooring and that sort of stuff. So those types of updates or deferred maintenance issues can cause your home to sit on the market longer. And unfortunately, the longer your home sits on the market, the weaker your power to negotiate is getting. So buyers often see a home that's sitting on the market for 120 days, 200 and something days, and they think, oh, we can surely offer $40,000 less because their home's been on the market for a while. And I typically try to educate my buyers to help them understand that's not necessarily the case, because sometimes the seller cannot let it go for less than a certain price because they too have to pay off their current mortgage, prepare to buy another home, maybe pay off some debts to be able to comfortably buy the next home. There are a lot of factors why a seller might not be willing to just let it go for 40, 50, $100,000 less. So I do that work with my buyers. However, with my sellers, the goal is to price the home right from the beginning so that we don't spend so much time on the market and deal with a lot of lowball offers, right? And so the other thing is access and showing restrictions. So if your home is not easily accessible, you're at work and you don't want anybody at the house while you're at work. Buyers don't want to view a house while you're in the house. They want peace of mind to have their conversations and really make decisions within themselves. It makes it very difficult to allow buyers to comfortably walk through a house if you're there, or if you're not there and you don't want them to view it. Even if the house is currently occupied by a tenant, maybe you have a renter in there, and that tenant also is posing for further difficulties, that can also slow down the rate that you're getting people to view the house and possibly offers on the property. No weekend availability is a huge one as well, because the average home buyer is available and off from work on the weekend. So if they're not able to if the buyers are not able to view the homes on the weekend, typically the time that they have more time to view the property, then that's gonna hold your opportunity to get the home sold as well. So, in order to fix that, it's important for you to have flexible showing times, make the home easy to tour, and of course, have weekend availability. When you have an agent working with you, then they can also handle those types of things, handle hosting open houses. That way, there's a time frame during the Saturday and Sunday block, people can come and walk through the home. So, those are some great things. So, if a home has been sitting on the market for 30 to 60 days, I'm curious, what's the first thing a seller should evaluate before making their next move? What are your thoughts? I've shared a lot here, but this should be something that you guys think about, especially if you have a home to sell and you're thinking about selling this year in 2026. I want to hear what you guys think in the comments. All right. So Have a wonderful day, y'all. I'll see you guys next Friday for our next Fridays with Flo. But this segment is over for now. I'm excited to kind of continue connecting with you guys every Friday because there's lots of conversations happening in the real estate world and the market consistently shifts. Who knows what things will look like next month? Interest rates, buyer demand, and we've now shifted into a buyer market. So things look very differently for sellers. So, love to hear your thoughts in the comments as well. All right, have a good one. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and I'll see you guys soon.